An Egyptian court has sentenced Abdel Fattah to 5 years in prison for protesting illegally. He was a leading dissident in the 2011 uprising that toppled dictator Hosni Mubarak. Let's get the very latest now from our correspondent in Cairo, Sharif Abdel Fattah. He joins us on the line. Sharif, how significant is this conviction and sentencing of this leading dissident?
Well, it's very significant. As you mentioned, Abdel Fattah is a very prominent activist. He's been jailed by the Mubarak regime, by the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces that replaced Mubarak. He received an arrest warrant under the Morsi regime, and now he's been sentenced to 5 years in prison, along with another defendant, while the 23 others received 3 years in prison. This was a closely watched case that was based on a draconian protest law that was passed by the unelected cabinet in 2013 following the ouster of Mohamed Morsi. It's been used to jail hundreds upon hundreds of peaceful demonstrators, and this case was closely watched in that regard. Alaa has 5 years, and after that 5 years of surveillance on him as well. During the case, which I attended most of the sessions, there was very little evidence shown that the protesters did anything but demonstrate peacefully. They were on a sidewalk in front of a cabinet building calling for an amendment in the Constitution to be changed with regard to military trials. Following the verdict today, there was a lot of despair and sorrow in the courtroom by family members and friends, and many of them activists in their own right, some of whom have received suspended sentences as well. And so they have an appeal which will take months to go ahead, but there's little hope now for them after the sentence was handed down.
So generally, where do things stand in respect of the hardline security clampdown on the 2011 protesters or the more recent Muslim Brotherhood supporters? Are Egypt's jails still teeming with detainees?
Absolutely. By some counts, a local human rights group put the number at 40,000 prisoners who have been thrown in jail since the ouster of Mohamed Morsi. We've seen the judiciary act in a way that has completely foregone any sense of independence. Under the Mubarak regime, they did display some degree of independence, forcing the regime to resort to extraordinary courts like the military tribunal system or state security emergency courts. But now the judiciary seems to be a willing partner in the repression, sentencing hundreds of activists to prison on the protest law, sentencing thousands of Muslim Brotherhood supporters to prison as well, and the mass death sentences being handed down. So a very authoritarian order is being built in Egypt.
Sharif Abdel Fattah, our correspondent there in Cairo, thank you very much for bringing us that.